Thank you for your time today. Hope you guys had a good break. My name is Eric Tan. I'm Docker SE for APAC based in Singapore. And I'd like to have a big thank you to CleanTech and Exaltian for hosting this event. Right, so today I'm just going to have a quick conversation on using Docker EE in a CICD workflow. So for the agenda, I'm going to briefly talk about who we are, Docker and evolution into the enterprise, overview of CICD, and the CICD workflow, and of course, how do you use the CICD in an enterprise setting. So essentially, Docker is the leading software container platform. It's founded in 2013 as a Linux developer tool. Essentially, we're trying to solve the problem of it works on my machine. Okay, show of hands. Anyone who have encountered this before where you talk to the developers and they give you some instructions, it works on theirs but not on yours. So I see quite a few hands here. Right, so essentially, we created Docker. We are the creator of Docker itself, okay, to solve this problem of portability. Right, and of course, at the end of the day, it's all about transforming your applications infrastructure security to give you portability, agility, and efficiency. This is very, very interesting statistics that we get from our Docker Hub, okay, and from our customers worldwide. 14 million Docker hosts, okay, 14 million. Okay, that is pretty high. 900,000 Docker apps. Okay, in terms of job listing, okay, anyone here is familiar with Docker? Have used Docker in the environment at this point in time? Okay, I see quite a few. Right, you will be glad to know that there's 150% more job listing for Docker-related skills. Right, think about that. Okay, the next one is pretty big impact. 12 billion image pools. Okay, over 390,000% increase. Okay, we got these statistics from our hosted Docker Hub or on our private registry and so on. Okay, and for Docker-related projects, there are 3,300 Docker-related projects. Okay, open source, you can contribute in it and so on. Let's talk a bit about the evolution of the Docker platform. Okay, many purposes, users, and infrastructure. Now, we first start out with the developer community. Okay, we need to think about developers. They want to have agility in using the kind of skills, the kind of libraries, the kind of tools that they want. So they want to innovate and experiment leading edge technology. Now, then we move on to the next step. Okay, once you have your applications developed, next thing, we're talking about the operations. Okay, they need a predictable system, okay, to deploy and run applications. They need to manage it securely. Okay, they need to have a prescriptive approach to managing applications. And then we go into the enterprise side. From the enterprise concern, we're talking about running business-critical apps at scale anywhere. Okay, so this basically combines what the developers and the operations within an enterprise. At the end of the day, okay, in order to deploy apps, okay, we need to have a partner ecosystem, okay, where different vendors are willing to put their software into containers, and that's a trend. Okay, we are seeing a trend where more and more companies, okay, are putting a software in containers for their customers because the customers are actually asking for it. So how does Docker advance mainstream container adoption? First and foremost, okay, the Docker engine, okay, the containerd engine, runtime engine, is all open source nowadays, right? So we have something called Linux Kit. You can use that to create your own container OS, a lightweight one, a toned down one, okay, stripped down to your needs if you need that. And of course, okay, our Docker components, engine and such, are all contributed to the open source project called Moby. Right, so have a look at Moby project if you want to dabble or contribute to them. And of course, what it does is that from the upstream Moby project, it goes into the community edition. Okay, I see that just now quite a few of you are actually using that, and I'm assuming that you guys are using community edition. So it's essentially free, okay, that's not supported, okay, and it includes Swarm Orchestrator, includes security, includes networking. So everything is bundled within the free edition, community edition Docker engine. Now, how many of you is aware that Docker actually offers an enterprise edition? Show of hands. All right, cool. I'm surprised, actually. Okay, so we have gone full onto our own enterprise edition. It offers additional capabilities, enterprise capabilities on top of what the free edition offers. So the free edition is essentially unsupported. Okay, the only way you can get some help is through the forums, and hopefully you get some help from there. And of course, it's all command line based, okay, Docker commands and so on. Now, what we offer from an enterprise standpoint is that you get a UI, you get a built-in orchestrator. Okay, I'm going to have a big announcement. I think some of them might have heard of it before, okay, later down the road. And with that in place, okay, we offer not only a Docker Hub offering, but if you want to install or put your images, store images on-premise, okay, this is where we have a Docker Trusted Registry. So these are additional capabilities that hopefully I have a bit of time, okay, to walk through with you at the end. So our mission, any app, anywhere, essentially to build, to ship, and to run it. Okay, essentially to build it, you need to innovate with agility, with speed. And of course, to ship it, the way we provide portability is that once a developer creates an image, okay, it can be used for QA, for staging, all the way into production. So this is how portable it is. And if you're deploying onto multiple clouds, or if you're thinking of doing that, at present you're only deploying on-prem, if you use Docker, okay, you have a portable container that in future you can move it to different clouds or hybrid, so on. And once you have that portability, the movement and the trust, you go on to need to run it, okay, to need to control, to manage and secure at scale, right? So this is our objective, to build, to ship, and to run. And the reality in IT is that there's so many technologies nowadays. Okay, how many of you are actually feeling overwhelmed with the kind of pace and technology that's happening at this point in time? Right? There's so many things. Okay, you have bare metal on-premise Linux developers, traditional applications, you have virtual, you have cloud, you have Windows, IT operations, microservices. There's so many things happening at the same time. What happens is that all this technology are, in a way, a bit siloed. Okay, you have traditional applications using virtualizations, using VMware, okay, Citrix, and so on. And you have some parties, some vendors offering PaaS solution. And on the other side, you have other parties, okay, offering public clouds, okay, infrastructure as a service, and so on. And if you use the traditional way of doing things without using containers, it's pretty hard to move from one platform to another. Okay, there's quite a bit of changes involved. And this is where the Docker Enterprise Edition, which provides a container as a service, comes into play. Right? As I mentioned, with our engine in place on all the different nodes, you can easily move. Okay, your developers could be developing on your local machine, okay, their laptops and so on. They can take the same containers, putting into a staging environment, which is on-prem, okay, using VMware and so on. And then once they're ready, they can take the same containers, deploy it onto the cloud. Okay, so this is how we ensure that with our container service, you can move different kinds of applications across different environments easily. And then, how do we enable that? So we're now talking about containers, Docker containers, being an enabler for continuous integration and delivery. So what is that? What is CI? What's continuous integration? Essentially, is to build iteratively and test software automatically as much as possible. Okay, as early as possible, and to develop cohesive and defensive solutions and innovate at speed. Now, the next part is to do continuous delivery. Again, this is where you make automated releases, okay, from end to end, right? And finally, how you are able to innovate with CICD reflects the development or the model maturity within your company. Okay, how far ahead are you? Okay, some companies, some startups are actually deploying as many as 30 to 40. Okay, this is just an estimate. Okay, 30 to 40 deployments a day into the production environment. They test their system pretty fast. Okay, they deploy it, they test it. Okay, it doesn't work, they take it out again. Okay, so this is how fast they can innovate. And as you understand, innovation is key to ensuring the survival of your company. Right, so this is just a very simple workflow. Okay, on the left-hand side, okay, you have your developers. They want to have the agility to choose the tools, the libraries, the framework, okay, and want to develop it fast. And this is where, okay, they use version control system, okay, Bitbucket, okay, GitLab, and so on, and GitHub. Okay, so they develop, they check in the source code, okay, and in order to do containers, they need to check in a file, a text file called a Docker file. Okay, Docker file can be version controlled too. And this Docker file serves as the basis of building your Docker image. So with that in place, once they've built the image, okay, we offer additional security components where you can actually sign the image and push it into our registry, okay, within Docker Hub or within the Docker Trusted Registry as part of the Docker AE platform. And this is where once the image is stored in a centralized trusted registry, okay, you can put it as part of a CICD process, okay, using CICD servers like Bamboo for Atlassian, okay, Jenkins, and so on. Right, so once you have your images defined and stored within your trusted repository, the next thing is to run it in production. And this is where, okay, you can run them in staging, in production, okay, all the way to production and so on. Okay, and this is where your different teams, your operations teams, okay, will be managing and controlling what gets into your production system. And of course, we do have certain tools, certain solutions that offer automated builds. Okay, anyone heard of Docker Hub? If you're using Docker containers, okay, Docker Hubs. All right, I can see quite a few hands there. Right, within Docker Hub, there's the capability when you purchase a paid subscription to use automated builds. Okay, so this is where you can push your images into Docker Hub. Okay, you can automatically trigger builds, and then we store the image within it. And then there's a very good site that's created by Docker itself called Play with Docker. If you're interested in it and you do not want to really install a Docker CE, which you should do in some point in time, you can actually access Play with Docker, play-with-docker.com. If you go in, you can actually provision different instances of Community Edition and you can try it out, okay, online. This particular next slide is very helpful. It looks complicated at first glance. So let me quickly break it down into digestible pieces. If you look at number one, okay, essentially talking about developers, okay, using different tools, different frameworks, different libraries, okay, creating a Docker file which represents your applications. Okay, this could be where you use a base container OS. Okay, you install, for example, Tomcat. Okay, install JDK, you install Tomcat. Okay, you install your libraries within it, you install applications. Okay, you can generate artifact, a WAR file, a jar file. And then, of course, you persist this, okay, you store this in your version control system. It could be GitLab, GitHub, and so on. And once you've done that, the next thing is that if you look at step 2, this is where your images will participate in the CI/CD process. Okay, you could pull additional base images from Docker Hub, okay, from official releases from your vendors, Oracle, IBM libraries, and so on, okay, MongoDB, and so on. Okay, you build them in as part of a CI/CD process, which I'm going to give a quick demo at the end if I have enough time. Right, and from there, you can push them into different environments. Okay, you can do automated testing using your CI/CD, okay, run the container, run your unit tests, your functional tests, and so on. And eventually, if everything is okay, you can deploy into production, the next stage, staging, production, and so on. Right, at the core of it, we have a Docker Enterprise Edition. Okay, you can see there are two components there, a DTR and a UCP. So DTR is what we provide an on-premise trusted registry, right? And UCP is a universal control plane. It is essentially the core component of our Docker AE platform, which orchestrates, okay, which schedules containers, and so on. Basically, it manages the health, okay, and the status of what's happening within your Docker cluster. All right, with that in place, your operations team, your infrastructure team, the security QA will then run commands, Docker commands, issued against the UCP cluster, which then tells UCP, okay, where to install your containers, where to schedule it. Okay, should you schedule it on development nodes or QA nodes or within production nodes? Right, so this essentially allows you to quickly move with this in place, okay, a change in development, pushing it all the way into production, okay, in a single step. Right, I quickly run through a quick demo on that later. And of course, okay, with that in place, the Docker engine can be run on multiple platforms. So what is involved? Okay, essentially involves building an image. Okay, first you do a Docker pull, okay, to get all your base images, your libraries, and so on that you need. Okay, you put them then into a Docker file. Okay, you specify a base container OS image. You define the steps to install your software. And then once you have that in place, you do a Docker build on that file. Okay, once you get the artifact that you get at the end of the build process, and it is an image, which you then need to distribute somewhere, to store it and distribute somewhere, right? Okay, this is where you do a tag on the image, you give it a name, okay, the version, okay, you log into your registry, and then you push it into a registry. It could be a Docker Hub, it could be a Docker Trusted Registry. You store it there. And once that is in place, okay, you can then pull it out through another process, automated process, to deploy it into production. Okay, this can be done through specifying a Docker Compose file. Okay, essentially, a Docker Compose file is a text file. Okay, it's where you specify your application stack. Okay, you have a front-end service, your middleware service, the back-end service, the databases, okay, that are all containerized. You specify them in the Docker file, okay, which you can then run this Docker Compose file, okay, either using Docker Compose or a Docker stack deploy and so on. Okay, with that in place, once you have defined that, okay, you've deployed into production, of course, you can define secrets. Okay, how many of you actually still are still seeing secrets, password being coded in configuration files? Right, good. Right, I don't see anyone here. Are you sure? Okay, so this is where we have integrated secrets management. Okay, you can actually encrypt a secret, get a password, which then can be encrypted at rest and in transit, and only transmitted to the containers that need them. So the front-end containers need to connect to a back-end database. Okay, then only the front-end containers, those containers will need to get access to the secret, and it's always encrypted on the fly. Okay, and even if you get access it within the container, it is totally transient. When the container dies or goes away, the secret goes away. So everything is protected. Then of course we can talk about routing meshes. Okay, Docker itself have a built-in ingress routing mesh. Okay, so this basically does a bit of load balancing. Okay, it basically directs traffic to the place where the containers are located, to the nodes where the containers are located. And then of course Docker provides rollbacks and updates and so on. Okay, I'll cover a bit that about later. Yes, there's actually an open source serverless implementation in microservices called Function as a Service, FAS. It's open source, so you can actually do that. Okay.
Would you recommend it?
I would say that if it fits the use cases and it fits into what Docker can offer, okay, in terms of security, portability, and stuff, why not? All right, the Docker Community Edition doesn't have any webhooks at all. Okay, so this is only the webhooks that I mentioned just now as part of the CICD process. It is actually from our Enterprise Edition, Docker Trusted Registry, and this is only provided by them. If you want to integrate, if there are multiple stages of webhooks. Okay, you have webhooks within the repository to trigger. So if, let's say, if you have image scanning and you found vulnerabilities, okay, you can actually trigger a webhook to file a ticket within Jira, for example. Okay, and then there's also webhooks coming from the CVS side of things, the GitHub. Okay, that can be used to trigger other places. Yes, in our next release, we are going to Windows at this point in time, Docker EE only supports Windows 2016. Okay, because Windows 2016 is a long-term support, 5 years, and of course, Microsoft is trying to innovate more faster. So they have this kind of age releases like 1709, okay, 1802, if I remember correctly. Okay, so 1709 actually has better. We can actually support ingress routing. Okay, it has much better support compared to 2016. However, we are seeing a lot of customers, enterprise customers, not willing to move to the age versions because they want the long-term support. Because the age version like 1709, 1802, okay, has support of only 18 months, okay, which is not what a lot of enterprises are looking for. Okay, you're right that our first release on Windows containers is actually on Windows 2016. Okay. There are some functionality that is available on Linux nodes that is not available on Windows. Okay, but have a look at 1709. Not really recommended. D&D is not really recommended in a sense, but you can try it out, right? But on the Enterprise Edition side, we don't really support Docker in Docker. That gets a bit complicated.